Welcome to today's presentation, Optimizing Biotech and CRO Collaboration in Early Drug Discovery. Today, our speakers will be exploring the trends, challenges, and solutions around this important topic. Before we start, I'd like to highlight a few important details. Please note that this presentation is being recorded and will be shared with all registered participants following the event. Additionally, for your convenience, it will be made available on demand at Dotmatics.com in our resources area, allowing you to revisit the content anytime or share it with your colleagues. Throughout the presentation, should you have any questions, there is a Q&A module located somewhere on your screen. So feel free to submit your questions there, and our speakers will address them at the conclusion of today's session, time permitting. My name is Ryan Barbera. I'm the Senior Demand Generation Manager here at Dotmatics. Before I hand it over to our speakers, I'd like to provide a little context for today's presentation. So earlier this year, Dotmatics partnered with the American Chemical Society to conduct a comprehensive survey. The objective was to gain a deeper understanding of biotech and contract research organizations, CRO, relationships and collaboration in the early stages of drug discovery, along with how biotechs manage their data. Through this survey, we explored the different ways biotechs utilize CROs and uncovered insights into the associated trends, as well as the challenges faced by the biotech industry. Today, we're excited to share those findings with you with the goal of empowering you with the data and optimization techniques so that you can streamline that collaboration to ultimately accelerate your discovery. Now it's my pleasure to hand it over to our speakers. They will introduce themselves, and then we'll get started with the presentation. Toby and Eric.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. So my name's Toby. I'm one of the application scientists at Dotmatics. I've been with the company for about 18 months now. And what I do is I am responsible for ensuring that I can match you up with the right solutions to ensure that you achieve your company's growth and development options. And I'm also joined today with Eric.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Eric Putnam. I've been with Dotmatics a little over a year now. I've got a background in pharmaceutical development and biology. So we're excited to present this information to you, and we hope everybody gets something as a takeaway from this. And with that, back to Toby.
Awesome. So how we're going to start today is talking about the rise of CRO outsourcing. So after the blockbuster days of the 90s, many of you might have been in the game a lot longer than I have, biotechs really stepped up to fill Big Pharma's innovation gap to fuel growth for the industry as a whole. But the rising R&D costs soon turned up the pressure to run smart and lean. By the 2010s, mid-2010s, many companies began outsourcing this compound synthesis. They could focus their money and their talent on core design competencies in medicinal chemistry, while passing off all the legwork to the CROs who could create those compounds faster and cheaper. It was win-win for everybody. But in recent years, even with the synthesis outsourcing model well established, pressures have continued to mount for a variety of factors. One of these is the R&D costs are growing. Now, R&D spending is nearly 10 times more than it was in the 1980s. It can take as much as 18 years and up to $3 billion to bring a new drug to market. Also, funding options are waning. As valuations fell post-COVID, potential partners and investors became increasingly trepidatious. Mergers and acquisitions slowed, easy funding, and those fast-track IPOs that we started seeing were replaced with growing demand to differentiate and meet strict development milestones and offer later stage assets. So what we were finding is that people needed to do more with less. Layoffs are also lingering. Now, many of us will be familiar with the layoffs of 2022, and those spilled over into pretty much early this year as well. Many companies have reduced their headcount, they've dropped programs, and they've started refocusing their efforts, which has all forced their teams to have to go along with dwindling funding and less staff. Next slide, please, Ryan. Now, as the pressure to do more with less grows, biotechs are looking beyond synthesis and questioning what the next stage of CRO outsourcing might look like, what we might call CRO 2.0. There are some essential questions that we want to start considering, given how strongly biotechs are betting on CRO outsourcing. By some estimates, and biotechs now outsource anything from 2/3 to 100% of their R&D activities. Now, for Big Pharma, that figure sits roughly around 45%. Outsourcing is so strong that the global contract research market is expected to grow by 160 billion by 2029, pardon me. That sort of growth is about 12% annually. So that reliance on CROs is especially strong among companies working in small molecule drug discovery. In particular, the outsourcing of early drug discovery initiatives, preclinical studies, and drug development efforts are growing faster than all other segments, including clinical trials and laboratory services. Now, despite growing reliance on the CROs in early R&D, exploration of how to optimize biotech CRO relationships have really focused on clinical phase projects where clients say they're looking for CROs to help them integrate things like point solutions, offer end-to-end strategic advice, and provide reliable and credible program management. But the success of early discovery outsourcing can also be threatened by multiple factors, such as inefficient data exchange, quality concerns, communication difficulties, and project management challenges. These are also things that we want to explore. So next, Eric is going to take us through how we explored the reality of CRO outsourcing as it stands today by reviewing some of those results from the ACS study.
Thanks, Toby. We're going to go over some of these results with you in this webinar. So in an effort to explore these trends and needs in the early drug discovery and outsourcing, Dotmatics has commissioned the American Chemical Society to survey biotechs and CROs who are collaborating on both early small molecule drug discovery projects and later steps of that process as well. An online survey was made available via email invitation to chemical and engineering newsreaders who identified as working in small molecule drug discovery. It was launched in January of this year and was available for approximately 6 weeks. There were 278 individuals who submitted responses, and the survey engaged both biotech, biopharma, and pharma companies who outsource to service providers or CROs, as well as the CROs themselves. It asked numerous questions regarding the categories of companies engaged, the types of projects undertaken, and the technology of the solutions that were employed. The data formats and the processes used were also analyzed, solution, technology gaps, etc. So what we found are some of the results on the screen in front of you. You can see small molecule synthesis of compounds at CRO organizations led the way with our respondents. Also, the majority of respondents were using 2 to 3 CROs at any one time. Outsourcing this work to CROs is not without issue, however, and we'll dig further into these issues in the upcoming slides. 84% of those respondents were using CROs for part of their small molecule discovery programs. By engaging CROs for this work, their workflows were streamlined, but at a cost. And that cost comes in the form of data review, transcription, and security. Data from CROs is often returned to the organizations in various file types. Those files must then be reviewed by the receiving organization and imported by various methods, often copy-paste, into a repository for that data. This data is then subject to review and import, and that time is full-time for several scientists. Ryan, if you could advance a couple of slides, please. These essential issues in these problems that were faced by the CRO import of this data. And these are important things to consider given how strongly biotechs are betting on CRO outsourcing. By some estimates, biotechs now outsource anywhere from 2/3 to 100% of their R&D activities. For big pharma, that figure is around 45%. Next slide, Ryan. Outsourcing is so strong that the global contract research market is expected to reach approximately 163 billion by 2029, representing a compounded annual growth rate of 12%. This reliance on CROs is especially strong among companies working in small molecule drug discovery, like Toby said earlier. Next slide, Ryan. So faced with these varied challenges, it's no surprise that our respondents and service providers have identified data management solutions as the #1 type of solution that would be most helpful in managing those external drug discovery projects. In fact, for both groups, the need for data management solutions far outweighed all other needs that were identified. Data preparation and cleaning is a well-known bottleneck in R&D. By some estimates, 80% of R&D data is stuck in different systems and different formats. As a result, as much as 60 to 80% of a data scientist's time is spent cleaning and preparing that data for use. Data being exchanged with external service providers complicates those matters even more. So here, taking a closer look at the current data sharing practices and early discovery outsourcing illustrates why data management solutions are so needed and why so much time is spent monitoring projects and having progress report meetings. As illustrated in the above figures, the file formats typically used in outsourcing projects are rudimentary and often require data transcription steps that are time-consuming, error-prone, and unsecure. There is an overwhelming use of office efficiency programs to present project data. And the current status quo for service providers is to pull data out of their systems and prepare progress reports to present to clients. This process is time consuming and requires constant touch points to keep everyone up to date. And while the prepared project update reports may be easy to view, they're not easy to use. Such reports are stagnant and leave the underlying data inaccessible for secondary use. The data cannot be easily uploaded into a client's databases. This data cannot be passed into specialty software for secondary analysis or use in machine learning or AI tools. And the data can't easily be collated with other data sets to attain broader insights on that data. And finally, that data is not easy to find always or use again in the future. So in summary, we've talked a little bit today about how organizations are increasingly using CROs to handle the challenges of small molecule synthesis for their drug discovery programs. We've also spoken a bit about how the role of the CRO is expanding to encompass more than just the synthesis of target molecules, but rather growing to span all areas of small molecule drug discovery. We have also seen how deadlines can be threatened by the massive task of data transcription and review and processing. And this is just one of the bottlenecks in this CRO process. So the question becomes, what can we do about these challenges? And I'm going to pass back over to Toby, who is going to explain to you some of the benefits that are offered by the Dotmatics platform and solution.
Next slide, please, Ryan. Thank you. So what we want to talk about now is Dotmatics as the market's first true end-to-end scientific R&D platform. It really has the power and the flexibility needed to support a wide range of CRO collaboration needs within early, small molecule drug discovery. We're talking about things from compound design and synthesis to screening analysis and registration. Dotmatics can help. The report that Eric just went through with us just now showed us that data management is actually considered to be the most helpful solution to help CROs manage these projects. So it's logical to take steps to, one, optimize your collaboration and secure data sharing between your internal colleagues and the multiple CRO partners you're working with by adopting a complete web-based informatics and decision support system. When you have one central hub to manage everything, that's your compound design, synthesis request, inventory, experiment design and tracking, analysis, requests, registration, and even progress report creation, it means that you have everything in one place with a single source of truth. With a unified portal, all this data is up to date and safely accessible in one place, keeping all your stakeholders on the same page at all times. This single source of truth creates the framework needed to support your project expansions, whether that's adding additional collaborators or adding a different technology, such as AI-based virtual screening. So we know AI has been really topical in the news the last couple of weeks. With your data in one place, with the type of truth that's associated to a unified platform, you can get ready to be able to use techniques such as AI and machine learning to really take your labs to the next level. Next slide, please, Ryan. So even at the individual task level, manual data exchange and process inefficiencies can have a major impact. So we mentioned this earlier before that though there's been so many benefits to having the CRO collaborations, there's also some risks involved with working with CROs. And what we want to do now is start looking at how we are doing things such as risking error, wasting resources, stealing time away from our researchers that could be doing high value scientific work. And Dotmatics recognizes this and wants to help you optimize tasks common within your collaboration, such as your target submission, compound synthesis, and registration. That means we can manage the target submission and the synthesis request, and then facilitate secure compound upload, whether that's by individual compound or by batch, with or without registration privileges for CROs. When it comes to assays and analysis requests, we can manage the communication and the request, even that back and forth data exchange with CROs engaged in tasks such as lead optimization, ADME analysis, and formulation studies. When it comes to reporting and decision support, we can create cross-project dashboards and reports that collate data from multiple CROs and attain high-level insights that aid decision-making. But don't take my word for it. Let's take the next few minutes just to examine how some of our current customers are benefiting from the integrated CRO portal as part of their Dotmatics platform. Now, our first example is Cereville. Cereville is a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company who is currently unraveling the mysteries of the brain to treat neurological diseases. With Dotmatics, Cereville was able to create a secure process for letting CROs directly submit their small molecules and proteins to a registration approval queue within the R&D platform, all without risk of duplication or security breaches. This was possible thanks to Dotmatics' ability to support one-way batch data upload, view-only data access, project and compound analysis, aliases, and restricted internal-only access to advanced platform tools such as sketching, registration, sign-off rights, and report creation. So what that meant was although Cereville was working with CROs, they were still able to maintain the security and protect their IP with the data sharing agreements that we had in place. Next slide, please. Our next example is Debio Farm. Now, Debio Farm is a multi-site 400+ person drug development company focused on novel treatments for oncology and bacterial infections. Now, this company has had numerous global CROs who they engage with for both compound synthesis and analysis. And with so many internal and CRO team members contributing to their R&D efforts, Debio Farm really needed a better system to keep everything in order, from the stock researchers needed to conduct their work to the results coming in from the various analyses. With Dotmatics, Debio Farm was able to move beyond Excel-based network files, which are all too common across this industry, and into a secure web-based R&D collaboration platform, which meant a more streamlined, efficient process across the entire organization. And with that, I will hand back over to Ryan to give us a bit more insight into the report and where you can find it.
Yes, so as promised, everyone who has participated in this webinar will receive an early copy of the ACS report that we had conducted. But I also wanted to, before we ended here, we do have a couple of questions and I hope that we can answer them. So I don't know who wants to take these, but let's get going. So the first one we have here is, what should biotechs be looking for when selecting a CRO partner?
Okay, so I can take that one, Eric. So when selecting a CRO partner, you want to think strategically about that. You want partners that have the knowledge and the experience and the tools that you'll need to be able to work beyond synthesis. We know that the demand for an end-to-end CRO management solution that captures all of the details and results from all of these projects and analysis is necessary. So looking at the CROs and the relationships that you want to have with them, you want to make sure that these have the tools needed to be able to make your processes more efficient, to make sure that collaboration and communication is easy and frees up more time for you to spend actually working on the science. So when we look at the report that we just discussed, we found that a lot of time was spent reviewing reports and also just keeping track and monitoring how CROs are getting on with projects. But if we had an automated way to keep on top of those things, we've got more time to spend with the science. So you want to look at CROs who are invested in their own innovation tools, that they have the right IT to support them and they have the right knowledge and experience within those tools as well, to make sure that the partnership between you and that organization is as efficient as possible.
Great, thank you. And along those same lines, we have another one here. What's the best way to streamline communication and collaboration with a CRO using Dotmatics?
I can take that one, Toby, if you're tired of talking. So Dotmatics has integrated this into our platform. So as part of the licensing process, you could give a seat to your CRO, who could log in and in one dashboard see test requests, upload data, and submit that data for your review, or register that data into the system directly. So everything's handled under one dashboard. You can see the same information, they can see, etc.
Great. And let's do one more here. So this one's about concerning around protecting IP associated with drug candidates when working with CROs. What are some safeguards that should be in place to ensure confidentiality?
So with that one, you just want to make sure that you have the right access and permission controls within the tools that you're using. So we spoke a little bit about some of our current customers now who have put some of these in place. So Cereville was an example of that. But you just want to make sure that your data exchange portal, whatever that looks like, is as secure as possible. So that means ensuring that you keep your data current, it's accurate, it's ready for use, but it's also in a place where only the people who need to see the information can see that. And the Dotmatics platform is excellent at that particular activity. So depending on what type of teams you're working with, the number of CROs, everything that you enter within that platform is secure, and there are many access controls around that. So that's something that's very, very important. And some of our customers have specific protocols around who gets to see what part of the projects. And that's obviously very useful for ensuring that IP is protected at all times.
Great, sounds good. I know we touched on this a little bit, but another question here about AI readiness. That's obviously been a big buzz in the market lately. What are some ways that biotechs can get ready for that?
That's a really good question. And it's quite topical at the moment, because we know that with all the AI tools that are coming out now, it's something that everybody's talking about at this stage. But the most important thing when you think about adding in these secondary tools, such as, AI platforms and things like that, is you get the benefit when your data is great. So data quality is such a huge prerequisite to having a good AI model, for example. So at this stage, you want to think about how your data is stored, how you're entering data, is it structured? Are you able to use that data for secondary purposes? You won't be able to do that successfully if your data is not is not secured in a good data management platform. So step one, when thinking about AI challenges, is ensuring that your data is in a good space, first of all.
Great. Okay. Well, I think that covers everything today. I do want to remind everyone, you're going to receive this report in your inbox in the coming days, so keep an eye out for that. So that does conclude our presentation. I hope that everyone got some great tidbits out of this and actionable takeaways. As always, if you have any questions for us, Dotmatics is here. Go visit dotmatics.com, and we are happy to answer any of those questions. We're happy to create a personalized demo for you to take a look at some of our solutions. So thanks again, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.